Outlaw Nation? Welcome to another review here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, and I'm joined by 1/3 of the Geek Buddies to do this review of the live-action Mulan. That is Michael Vogel over there, a renowned Disney expert, lover of all things animated Disney, and I think lover of Mulan. So how are you, Mike? Are you excited to review this movie with me?
I am very excited to review this movie with you. I am all of the things you just said. I am the biggest Disney nerd of the Geek Buddies, so I'm ready to rock. I'm all on board. I was very, very excited about this movie, and I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, and are you a big fan of the animated version of Mulan?
I am a huge fan. So I love all Disney. I've loved Disney my entire life. My parents took me to the movies, but that Little Mermaid to Tarzan era, I guess Little Mermaid was 89, but technically like the 90s era of Disney movies is 100% my era. Like I was obsessed. I don't think that there's a movie that came out in there that I didn't like. And I actually remember Mulan came out while we were at Florida State together.
I remember that.
And
I think we might have gone together to see it.
I was very, very excited to see it. And I thought it was an amazing movie. When I saw it, I still love it. Rita Zhao, who wrote the movie, I actually got to co-write the My Little Pony movie with. So I got to work with her and had a lot of conversations about Mulan while we were working on the My Little Pony movie. So Mulan is definitely a near and dear Disney part of my heart. Yeah, I can quote it. I can quote it in almost completion.
As for a better pedigree than that, and full disclosure, Mike and I watched the Lion King one, and Mike also could dictate to me what was happening in that film step by step, which is really funny. This is a completely different situation, Mike. This is the live action version of this animated tale from the late 90s. This one has no songs. This one doesn't have Mushu the dragon. And before we go any further, just letting you, this is a spoiler review. So we're going to get into it for a little bit and talk about the things we liked and didn't like about this movie and how we felt it came across. It dropped on Disney Plus just a few days ago from Niki Caro, who directed this movie, and it was written by Rick Jaffa, Amanda Silver, Lauren Hynek, and Elizabeth Martin. Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver may sound familiar to some of you who are in the geek world. They did a lot with the recent Apes trilogy that came out, with The Rise of Planet of the Apes, and also Dawn of Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes as well. And this has been a long time coming, this live action version, Mike. They've been working on it, I think, since 2015, 2017, 2018, I think, when Niki Caro came aboard. And then they've been developing since that time, trying to get this thing in motion and get it done once and for all. And just like Mulan, Mike, it feels like Mulan had to go through a lot of its own battles just to finally get shown for people to watch and enjoy, because of COVID, because of the issues with the Chinese government, all this kind of stuff happening around the periphery of Mulan, keeping it from being screened where it was originally going to be screened, which is around March 9th was when the premiere was here in LA, and then all the COVID shutdown happened. So Disney kind of, after a few months, decided to change course and drop this on Disney Plus. So as we said, this is going to be a spoiler review. So let's get into it, Michael. First of all, what are your overall thoughts on the movie itself and the live action version of this Mulan?
Overall, my thoughts are pretty positive. As you said, we watched the live action Lion King together. And as excited as I was about that, since Lion King is probably one of my favorite animated movies, that is probably my least favorite Disney live action remake. Primarily because it is virtually a shot for shot of the animated feature, which means it really doesn't have a reason for being. And I think when we actually talked about Lion King, one of the things that I had said was, I think that Disney live action remakes are better suited when they stray from the source material. We have the movies. Thanks to Disney Plus, we can watch the movies literally whenever we want, the original animated versions. And so doing something different is always better. And although this movie hit all of the emotional beats that you would want to get out of seeing the story of Mulan, it was told in a very, very different way with very different characters. Like, there were a lot of changes. As you said, no songs, first of all, no Mushu, no Cricky. The character of Li Shang was sort of split into two different characters. So a lot of differences, a lot of additions. And I thought that it was great. I think when you go to see these live action remakes as a fan of the original animated movies, you don't want to see the exact same movie all over again. You want to see something that makes you feel the same way that the original made you feel, but gives you new stuff as well. And I think this movie did a really, really good job of it. I think the movie did some things not so well too, which we can talk about, but as overall thoughts, this is definitely on the upper end of the Mulan, of the Disney live action remakes for me, and one that I would point to as they're moving forward with all of the other inevitable live action remakes that they're going to make, and say, do more like this and less like Lion King.
Well, this is it clocks in at an hour and 54 minutes. And I will say this, I did enjoy the movie, but it's probably a movie I won't run back and see again. It's on the lower end of the best of the live action Disney films for me. Unfortunately, I felt the visuals were incredible. I think Niki Caro directed a fantastic film in terms of the cinematography and the visuals, the costume design, all of it, the battle sequences. They were a thrill to watch. Some of the fantastical elements of, fighting on the walls, a little Doctor Strange kind of action going on there, I thought was all great. I think my issue overall with the movie, though, was that I felt there wasn't enough in the exchanges between the human moments with Mulan that made me connect to her. What was surprising to me is that initially I was okay with Mushu getting out of there, the songs getting out of there. Let's tell a straight dramatic story about this legendary tale, which has been around, I think, since the 15th or 16th century in China, and see what we can get out of it and see what kind of a new, interesting, dramatic approach you can take to this. As Michael said, jumping out of doing something that, because even Aladdin was very reminiscent of the animated film, Lion King shot for shot. This was a complete departure, as Michael said, changing characters, changing some of the story beats, all of that. But I found myself missing the conversations between Mushu and Mulan, because I wanted to see her struggle with her self-confidence. I wanted to see it grow as she went along. Those verbal scenes, those verbal exchanges in the dialogue added a lot of connectability to the character of Mulan that I thought was slightly missing here. That being said, though, I enjoyed a lot of the performances. I enjoyed a lot of the scenes that we got to see in the movie. But overall, I found myself at about the 90-minute mark, looking at my phone going, oh, wow, there's 25 more minutes of this film left. And I felt that they had kind of accomplished all they wanted to accomplish. But overall, I would say, yes, I did enjoy the experience, but it's just not one I would run back to. What is it that stood out for you that you really enjoyed about the movie, Mike? You say you feel very positive about it overall. What stood out for you that were like the top positive things for you?
I think that, to your point, I think it's just a gorgeous movie, and I think a big part of this was, as we've talked a lot about, on Geek Buddies. Like, I just miss going to the movies. I miss seeing new stuff. We have a lot of great TV to watch. There's a lot of really great stuff on the streaming services, but like that experience of like sitting in a movie theater and watching like some beautiful, lavish movie. And so, even though I wasn't sitting in a movie theater, Mulan definitely fulfilled on just something that looked gorgeous, from the set design to the locations to the costume design, as you said. So I really like that, and I think that I did enjoy. I agree with you. I halfway agree with you. Okay. I do think that I think that I really did enjoy seeing a more straightforward, dramatic approach to the story. I think it was kind of cool to see the same story, but because it's live action and because of the way that women were treated, like it was a little bit heavier than it is treated in the animated movie. Although when that movie came out, it felt heavy for an animated movie. Like they definitely did. Definitely did bring in on the seriousness. Now, the role of Mushu, I didn't necessarily miss. Okay. But what Mushu as a character allowed you to do, I didn't necessarily need a dragon spirit guide for Mulan, but she had a partner in crime. Yeah, she had someone who she could talk to about what am I supposed to do to be a man, and you got a lot of fun interaction with that. Now, in the nature of the story that we're telling here, you don't have a partner in crime. Nobody is in on the secret. And I think where they did fall down a little bit, because I do agree with you, I think it starts pretty strong. The setup is really nice.
Yeah,
really
it is actually, yeah.
And I think then you meet Boracon, who is kind of the live action version of Shan Yu from the animated movie, who I think is probably kind of not a... I think in the original Mulan animated, Shan Yu is not that interesting of a villain. And I think that Boracon in the live action version is not that interesting of a villain. I think the witch character that Gong Li plays is super interesting. So anytime she comes on screen, when they introduced her, it was amazing. But I think that once Mulan gets to the army camp and starts training, I think you do sort of have a dip, because even though the action is interesting in meeting these characters, I think they did sort of try to have a lot of fun with the other guys and have them be really manly and whatever. And, oh, I'm just a big macho guy. But I think that because you didn't have Mushu there, I think this is where the movie did fall down a little bit, and it could have used a real infusion of comedy. And since you don't have Mushu as your sort of magical animated companion partner in crime comedy, you really needed to have a little bit more comedy in seeing her maybe navigate how to become friends with these guys. You have a moment here or there. You have one guy, I think it's Ling. I think it's like the live action version of Ling, looking at a picture of the girl that he's in love with, and all the guys are like throwing it around, and like Mulan gives it back to him. Yeah. So you have little moments like that. Yeah. But I think you really could have had this opportunity to have the getting to know the guys and seeing her be sort of the outsider and really see some really comedic scenes where she does win them over. And I think that would have filled that gap that you're kind of talking about, where you're kind of like, yeah, I know this is where she trains and this is good. Because then I think once they get to the big battle, when they go and they fight Boracon all the way through to the end, I'm back on board. I just think that there's kind of a dip in the middle where the lack of Mushu and the lack of humor sort of is the thing that would have really carried you through.
Yeah, and I think they didn't do enough building up these side characters that are at the camp to make you connect to them as much as you needed to make you care about them. And yeah, I think you make a great point as I was adding the Mushu stuff, the extra level that you're talking about. The idea of having a partner in crime. Absolutely. Yeah, that someone you can confide in, someone she can talk to, someone she can. And I thought that I forget the character's name, who plays kind of like the guy she initially has a kind of physical battle with that's broken up by Donnie Yen, but then eventually, they come together.
Yeah, it's later on. Shen Hong.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did, because I mean, in the Me Too era, they realized there's probably some issues with Mulan having sort of a quasi-romantic relationship with her superior officer.
Right.
So I think
I was cool with that change. I
think they very wisely kind of split the character up into Donnie Yen playing the commander, and then the actor, I think it's Yosan An, who played Shen Hong. Yeah. And I thought that like Shen Hong was actually very endearing. I thought he was really sweet, but I think they definitely could have done more.
Yeah, there could have been more conversations, more interactions, more him suspecting a little bit, maybe to kind of play out that a little bit. We've seen that before in numerous movies since the 60s of someone going undercover, a woman going undercover as a man in certain situations, and what that can lead to in conversation. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. I did like the change, and I agree with you. That's where the lull happens, because the Gong Li stuff is great. The Gong Li stuff is fantastic.
I want to talk about Gong Li in a second, because that's great. But I mean, to your point, there's a movie. I actually just watched it again. I've watched Mulan twice now because it is definitely, I know you said it's not a movie that you'll go back to. This is a movie that I would just like literally put on while I'm doing stuff in the house, because it's enjoyable to watch and it's just gorgeous and the score is amazing.
Right.
I'm super into it. But there's a scene around this area that you're talking about in the middle where Shen Hong kind of asks Mulan if she's in an arranged marriage yet, and she says no, maybe, and he's like, I don't know if a girl's ever gonna like me. And it's like, this is a scene, I think that it really felt like they were so intent, and this happens a lot of times where you go into a movie, you're like, guys, we're doing the serious Mulan, and everyone goes, good, we're on board with this, and then because you've made that choice, you're afraid to go into like having a little bit of lighter fun, to balance it out. And this whole scene where kind of Shen Hong says, I don't even know how to talk to girls. And Mulan says, well, you should talk to them the same way you're talking to me right now. And it's like a nice scene. Like there's nothing wrong with the scene at all. It's perfectly fine. But this is a moment where you could have really amped up the, Shen Hong saying, well, if I was talking to a girl right now, I would say this. How do you think a girl would respond? And Mulan being like, I think a girl would say that. Like you could have really taken that. Like there was so many moments with both him and the other soldiers where the intention was there. And they went like this far,
right? The execution
but if they wasn't taken the time, and they had really just said, let's show her being sweet to this one guy who's like kind of the nerdy soldier, and then everybody else making fun of her for being sweet, and so then she punches him in the shoulder, and he's really confused. Like there was the potential for that kind of comedy that they think they were just a little bit afraid to do that because they wanted so badly to prove that they were the serious one.
Right. We're not saying, this isn't, they should have done this. It didn't get the Mulan I wanted. What we're saying here, and I agree with Mike Michael and the suggestions he's saying is that these moments could have been fleshed out a little bit more, and that would have allowed us to see Mulan with her guard down a little bit more, a little vulnerability and all of that, to have fun, and then let us connect to these characters even more as well, so that when she comes back later, when she is the woman fully embracing Mulan after she's quote unquote died as the son of her dad and embraced becoming this powerful woman with these incredible abilities, the guys would have had separate moments of like really kind of like, oh wow, kind of negotiating that within themselves, and we would have enjoyed watching that more and more. Instead, they kind of slid into a few male stereotypes, which I get, but there could have been a little bit more that they could have done with that, especially with Mulan as well. But Gong Li, we mentioned, I think the Gong Li we have to talk about as Zhang Yang. I thought this character was such a surprise and such a great addition to the overall tale, because it is the older woman who has gone through this thing and has turned her rejection into anger to fight and get revenge. And she sees Mulan as someone who is akin to her, a female who is also going through the same thing, because she also has the same abilities to a degree that Gong Li's character does. And so she feels a kinship with her and thinks that, hey, we can band together and you can come with me, we can do this. But Mulan shows her there's another path. And her sacrifice for Mulan, I think, is a really powerful moment in the movie, because unlike other relationships, they spent time in these scenes kind of exploring the two sides of how a woman might approach this situation and react to it. I thought that was a really nice element to the film.
Yeah, I think that the highest compliment that you can give a live action Disney remake is when you see something and you go, I wish this is what had happened in the animated movie.
Oh, yeah.
Another example would be, not that I think Aladdin is perfect, but I think Aladdin, as we've talked about on the show, was a lot better than I thought it was. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. And Aladdin has that great moment at the end where you just say, this is dumb. Jasmine, you're the most qualified. You should be Sultan.
Right.
Which I'm like, it was such a great moment. And I was like, you know what? In my mind, that's just how the movie should end. Like, animated or not, like Jasmine's the Sultan. Aladdin, he's like, it's fine. Jasmine's the Sultan. Yeah. And with Gong Li's character, I absolutely thought that this should have been the villain in the movie, like in the animated movie. Like, it's such a great addition. Everything that you said, it's such it shows this is the way men treat women in this world. Right. And here is a powerful woman just like Mulan, and she chose this route. And what Boricon, what Jason Scott Lee's character holds over her, is the promise of, I kind of treat you like shit, but I'm going to treat you less like shit than all these people did. So you kind of have to be with me no matter what. Right. And when Mulan has all of the soldiers believe in her and follow her at the end, it shows Gong Li. It shows Gong Li that there was another path. That there was something else. Exactly. Or so Zhang Lang, the character. That there was another path that she could have gone down. And so I think that that was just such a great addition, and I think that was where the movie really came to life for me. Like, anytime those two were on screen together, I was like riveted, and I thought the conversation was fascinating. So I thought she was a great character. As we said, this is a full spoiler review, so her sacrifice at the end I thought was really well done, really affecting. I actually felt it. It was great. I think she was one of the highlights of the movie for me. Absolutely.
I think the dad, played by Zima Hua Zhao, I hope I'm saying that right. I thought Zima did a great job. I'm sorry?
Hua Zhao. It's Hua Mulan, Hua Zhao.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. Hua Zhao. I thought he did a great job. And Sima has been in a million things. So to see him be a part of this, he brought a great weight and gravity to the father character, having her connect with Mulan in that opening scene, later telling her to kind of stamp her or tamp down her abilities so she can be part of society at the behest of her mom, played by Rosalind Chow, another great character actress who's been in a million things. They just did really great job with the casting here. And those two as the mother and father, bringing a new element to their roles that you didn't see in the animated film, I thought was nice. And seeing what could have happened here, it could have easily gone the stereotype way. And the fact that they added more colors, I really enjoyed this.
Well, yeah, the interesting distinction when you compare it to the 90s version is that Fa Zhao in the 90s movie, he's the one that's very stuck on Mulan. You have to act the way that
the mom.
The honor dictates you ask. And the mom is sort of like, I don't want to say a non-character, but she doesn't really seem to have a large opinion beyond like, let's get you to the matchmaker. And in this movie, they sort of inverted it where he's kind of very proud of his daughter and kind of thinks that the chi that she has within her is actually a pretty great thing. And it's the mom who's like, dude, we got to get her married off. That's what her role is. And so it gave the mom a little bit more to do than I think the mom has in the original version. And it sort of flipped the relationship between Mulan and her father a little bit from what it is in the 90s movie. It kind of gets, which I think is really, really, really affecting. And I think that they did a nice job of giving me, like I said, like I got the moments that I wanted. If you love Mulan, you know, you're not going to get the songs, you're not going to get Mushu, you're not going to get Cricky, but you're going to get Mulan at the matchmaker. And the disaster. You're going to get that moment where the soldiers come in and give Mulan's father the conscription notice. You know, you get Mulan making the decision to leave. You get, you know, they have little Easter eggs where like one of the characters says a line from A Girl Worth Fighting For, or, you know, the soldier says, I'm going to make a man out of all of you. And you get the little winks and nudges, you know, biggest wink and nudge probably at the end when Mulan has like saved all of China and Ming Na shows up to sort of announce Mulan. And everyone is like, oh, it's Mulan, it's the original Mulan.
And
so
dressed as Mulan was at the end of the movie. I
think they did a good job with all that. And like, look, at the end when Mulan saved all of China and everybody was on her team, and then she went back home to see the family, and all the soldiers showed up and brought her a sword. Like, I got teary-eyed. I got like, listen, if a movie gets me choked up, I'm on board. I'm in.
To go.
So yeah, I was very happy with it. Let me ask you this: you said it's on the lower end of your Disney live action movies. What do you think is the top live action remake for you?
I think Jungle Book is up there. I think Cinderella's up there. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed Cinderella. Like I am not Cinderella's demographic, and I did enjoy that very much. I think Aladdin's up there for sure, just from the sheer surprise of how good it was. I haven't seen the Pete's Dragon one, but everyone says it's pretty good. And so at some point I'll watch that myself. So it's just on the lower end there. I didn't like The Lion King. Am I missing? I didn't like Dumbo. Is there?
There's the Maleficent movies, which I guess count.
I don't count those in my mind because that's just twisting the entire narrative. You're not telling the Sleeping Beauty story over again. You're telling the Maleficent story. So to me, that's
I think that's all of them. Aside from the live action Lady and the Tramp, which was a Disney Plus exclusive.
Oh right, exactly.
Which is actually surprisingly cute.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that I'm with you. I think Cinderella and Jungle Book are the two. Oh, and you did Beauty and the Beast. That's right.
Beauty and the Beast is good. I will put that in. It's not great, but I'd certainly put it in the upper top 5 for sure.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Aladdin are interesting, and it makes me a little bit curious as to how Little Mermaid is going to go, because I think those 4 movies particularly are so beloved. And I think that Lion King to me was the shot-for-shot remake and a fail. Beauty and the Beast was pretty much close. They added a couple things that I think didn't really work. Like their whole magical journey to France or whatever.
I just remember enjoying my time in the theater.
But I mean, I think you liked the songs were there. I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Right.
Aladdin surprised me.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Cinderella and Jungle Book are definitely the two best. And I kind of put Mulan up with those. I think it definitely has its lags. I think it has its kind of moments where you are like, all right, let's kind of get things moving. But I think all in all, the fact that it tells a different version of the Mulan story for me kind of puts it above the others, where I really think it's up there with Cinderella and Jungle Book.
All right, fair enough. I will say the things that kind of ding it for me. I didn't have an emotional response at the end there, but I did feel like there was an awesome moment the way it was shot. I do think if you cast Donnie Yen and you cast Jet Li and not give them enough fight scenes, I'm kind of, as a martial arts guy, I'm kind of let down a little bit. You only get one fight scene with Jet Li, which is pretty awesome with the claws, but then it's over pretty quickly. And Donnie Yen just does stuff with his sword, and there's not that martial arts stuff that you'd like to see more of. So I kind of dig the movie a little bit for that. And also the Bora Khan role, Jason Scott Lee, he's like presented in a certain way right off the bat at the beginning of the movie. Then he disappears for 25 minutes of the movie, then shows up again. There's not enough. And the big ding on the original Mulan movie is that the villain isn't really fleshed out. Well, he wasn't fleshed out again. And I thought they kind of dropped the ball a little bit here. And especially when you cast a good actor like Jason Scott Lee, you got to give him some stuff to do to play around with. And it was great to see him again. As a fan of that Dragon movie, the Bruce Lee movie, I love whenever Jason Scott Lee pops up. And I would have liked to have seen him have a little more of a meatier villain role to play.
Yeah, I think that the issue with Mulan is the real villain in Mulan is like society. Like
Yeah,
the real villain,
that's a great point,
villain in Mulan. The real villain in Mulan is, hey,
Yeah.
we're not going to let you do what you want to do. So that's what she's really battling
Yeah,
against.
that's a great point.
And you need a bad guy, and he is. But like that's where I feel like the witch character represents such a stronger sort of counterpoint to her.
Yeah.
So I think like the addition to her to a large degree fixes the villain problem,
Right.
but it still gives Jason Scott Lee not a lot to do because he's literally just muscle. I mean, he's
Right.
literally
Yeah.
there to be something that you have to fight against.
Some random revenge.
On the action, and now that you say it, I think one thing where I was left wanting while also being satisfied, if that makes sense, is I think that the action in the movie that is there is gorgeous.
Yes.
But as you were talking about Donnie Yen and Jet Li, you know, Donnie Yen comes out, swings his swords, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. Right. And Jet Li has some cool action moments. But I think that comparing Mulan to a movie like, say, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as like a comparable kind of thing, there is a way that Crouching Tiger just sort of luxuriates in its action sequences.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, like you get into an action sequence and you are in this zone where the movie almost takes back a backstage to we are in this moment where we or like a Kung Fu Hustle as another kind of totally different example, but like where once we get into this action sequence, everything else is going on pause and the entire movie is revolving around watching these amazing performers do this amazingly choreographed awesome battle. Right. And with Mulan, you kind of got to this thing where you would get to the moment, whether it be with the soldiers or Donnie Yen or Mulan and Jian Lang, the witch, or any of them, and you would have a really cool moment like Jet Li or with the fabric or whatever. Yeah. But it would be done so fast, and then you would cut to something else. Yeah. And I think that it would have been great had the movie. Granted, the movie has a long running time as is, but it would have been great to have a couple moments where you just really just got into these action sequences and just let them just be this set piece.
I think this fits on what you said earlier, Mike, the idea of they didn't go far enough in the humor with the guys at the camp. They didn't go far enough in the wushu style. Why tease me with the wushu, climbing the walls of a castle to go over top of it if you're not going to fully commit to it and give us some awesome action of fighting scenes that kind of have that wushu style to them for a little bit longer so we can savor them. So in the end, those are the things I ding it for. One last thing we haven't even mentioned the actors. We should talk about the actors for a couple minutes before we wrap up here. Yifei Liu it plays Mulan. I hope I said that right. Thoughts on her?
I think it's Liu Yifei.
Liu Yifei, so it's the other way. Okay, Liu Yifei.
I think so.
How would you rate her performance in the movie? Did you enjoy her as Mulan? Ming-Na Wen did such a great voice performance in I think 98, 99 when it came out. But did you enjoy her? I
really did enjoy her a lot. I thought she did a great job. I thought she had great. Her acting was really solid. Her action was really solid. Like she just really, I believed her. I believed what she was doing. Again, like I think it's a hard comparison because Ming-Na was playing Mulan in a much more comedic sort of goofy, trying to figure things out. What am I going to do here kind of way? Whereas Liu Yifei was playing her in a very more serious, like I don't know what to do and I'm going to fight in this war and I've never seen war before. So I think that for the role that she had, she's good. She did a really good job. I would be curious to see, had they pushed the humor a little bit more, could she have done it? She had a few like light moments, especially at the beginning on the way to the matchmaker. Yes. And I would have been curious to see I think she probably could have done it had she been given it, but I think for what she was given, she did a great job.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job. I didn't think she did a great job, but I will concede she did a good job. But I think mostly that's about the script. I agree. I think we could have seen her do even better if there had been more in the script for her to play more beats, more moments, more subtlety, more interactions here to see her progression, her journey, her emotional inner journey to that moment where she comes back from that scene with the avalanche and she is fully Mulan, and the guys like have no choice but to follow her and go forward in battle with her and to that great ending of the movie. All right, that's our review. Micah, what do you want to give it out of let's say out of 10, 1 to 10? What do you want to give it, or do you want to do 5 cowboy hats? What do you want to give it? Like, what do you want to say?
Oh, we're like 5 outlaw hats, like
1 to 5 outlaw hats. What's your feeling?
1 to 5 outlaw hats. I'll give it. I'm gonna give it 3.5 outlaw hats.
Okay. All right.
I think I think that out of 5, I think 3.5. I think that here's why, because I think all the reasons that you ding it are valid.
Yeah.
I think that with it, whether it be the action or the humor or a couple other areas, they could have done more. But when you look at some of the Disney movies, take Dumbo, take Lion King, where they've really just gone down a bad, like you're just like, what is this? Yeah. Every beat, every moment in this movie is great. The addition of the witch character is great. Yeah. They hit the nostalgia for the Disney fans, but they give you something new. It's gorgeously shot. Like every choice that's made is the right choice. Right. There are just some choices that they should have doubled down and pushed further. Yeah. And that would have made the movie really, really great. But they didn't make any bad choices. And the choices that they made were all solid. They just could have done more. So 3.5 outlaw hats.
Yep, I give it 3 outlaw hats myself, just a little bit below Michael. I agree with that, everything he just said. And also saying, I feel like if they had committed a little more to the drama, then the humor would have stood out. It would have been an easier thing to explore for them. So if they'd gone harder into the drama and then let the humor play with itself. We see that all the time with the Marvel movies. When they have the stakes on the line, they can really dial into that drama, and that makes the humor stand out even more and be more bright and more interesting to explore, and gives you that relief from the drama so that you can ramp back up again into the drama when that humor scene ends. And it would have been nice to see a little more of that. But that being said, I think Niki Caro deserves a lot of accolades for directing this movie. She's the first woman to direct a $200 million film. So you got to give her props for that and being able to land this.
I think she did an amazing job. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So deserves all the credit, and hopefully we'll see more from her and what she's doing. All right, let us know what you thought about this live action Mulan in the comments section below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you agree with our points, Mikey's points or my points? Or did you feel like maybe there are other points that could have been made here that you would like to have seen us talk about? Let us know in the comments section below. And how many hats would you give it? How many outlaw hats would you give it? And remember to like this video as well. There, hit that thumbs up button, give us some love, and share this video on your social media. The more you share it, you're telling your friends and family you like these guys reviewing these things, and you like the Outlaw Nation stuff. So thank you so much for that.
How many likes do they need to get to for you to do a karaoke version of "I'll Make a Man Out of You" on your YouTube page? Is the real question.
I cannot do a Donny. I can't do that, Justin. Donny Osmond's incredible singer.
Come on, let's get down to business. You can do it. 500 likes.
500 likes.
500 likes.
500 likes.
I'll do it. Hit it. 500 likes.
500 likes. I'm down.
500 likes, and we will do a karaoke "I'll Make a Man Out of You" on the Outlaw page.
Oh God, got it. So with my hat on, good to go.
Obviously, with your hat on
and my gi or whatever she's wearing there. I'll totally do that. All right, thanks everyone. Please follow Mike at MK2. And Mike, is there anything else that you've got going on? Do you want to promote?
Check out this podcast I do with the Geek Buddies. It's my own podcast. I run it. I'm the boss of it. It's really good. We talk about geek news. The other two guys that are my two co-hosts, Shannon McClung and this other guy. I can't remember. I can't recall his name at the moment. But it's a fun podcast. Check it out. You can probably find it on this very YouTube page that you are watching this.
You can, or you can find it wherever you download podcasts. Just type in the Geek Buddies and you'll find it there. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time to do this. You know, you're my favorite Disney friend, and so to do this with you is always a lot of fun. Thank you for doing it.
Definitely, absolutely.
I'll
be back for the next one.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. And more. Certainly. I'm trying to make more of these reviews and do them with people that I respect, whose opinion I respect, and whose analysis I always have enjoyed. So there you go. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. See all the stuff we got going on. And don't forget to subscribe to the Outlaw Nation. There's going to be more reviews. I'm ramping up. I stepped away from another show so that I can have more time to do reviews and make them more a part of this channel. So please patronize it, share it, and like it as best you can. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time with another review here on the Outlaw Nation.